Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Recording. But yeah, so the question that I sent you, and the first one is, what was your process to develop the style that you currently have?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a mixed bag, as
Yeah.
you can tell. So I don't know, my style is forever evolving. Like, obviously, fashion changes. You know, things come into fashion. People, music, art, fashion, everything inspires me anyway. So it evolves as I get a bit older and learn my tastes more, but also venture out into things that I've never done before. And I'd probably describe my style as like just complete mishmash of everything. So like I have my really chilled down days that I'm like just in sweatpants and very boyish clothing. I mean, I identify myself as sort of non-binary, so I do have that sort of wake up some days want to dress like a guy, more masculine, and then some days that I'm dressing a lot more femme. I mean, obviously my hair, my makeup today is more femme, but like most of the time, especially when I'm working, it tends to be quite mask. So and when I was styling as well, completely different style of clothing then. Like it's fashion for me when I am making and creating, so like my workroom here, like for my brand, is obviously very colourful, very bright, holographic, very rainbow, very femme. But then I also have this massive dark side where I just wear black, and that's mainly for styling. I do that just because the more you wear on yourself, the more it influences what you're going to put on other people. So if I go into a job with thousands of colours on, I often take away from the actual objective of the shoot. So I can like, you know, it'll distract away from my ideas will be crazy, and it's not necessarily always needed. So yeah, I think my style just sort of evolves from loads of different places. Definitely what's in the media, but also have my own stuff going on. If I think something's cool, I just do it, and lo and behold, a couple of years later, I'll see everyone else doing it. So it tends to be before the times, which is good for me. But yeah.
Yeah. And second question that is kind of related is, how do you get comfortable expressing yourself and kind of going against societal norms and all of that?
Yeah, massive question there. To be honest, it took me so long, like to be comfortable with my own style, to be comfortable with my own sexuality, to be comfortable with my own identity as well. So the more I've got comfortable with that, the more I've been more expressive with my clothing. I'm very comfortable with sort of what I wear. And nowadays, because style is changing and evolving constantly, it's been it's been more acceptable now to wear what you like, and you know, and not be afraid of you know, putting your stamp on something, or wearing something just for you. A lot of the time when I was younger, there wasn't this expressive thing that you could do with clothing. You were stuck into whatever the commercial thing was at the time. E-com places, you know, they all sold the same thing. When we were in school, we had like, I don't know, minimal options of stuff to wear. And I would always be wearing something loud and probably get it in the neck for doing so. It was very like, I came from a prim and proper town as well, where like, just everybody knows everybody's business, and like nobody would allow me to wear that kind of stuff without, you know, teasing me or bullying in a sense. You know, it's crazy what I get away with now compared to before, and it's all about confidence. And I think that I've got that personally, luckily for me, modeling for quite some time, wearing very extravagant clothing on the runway. I do a lot of hair modeling stuff, so hence the hair. But yeah, I do a lot of hair modeling stuff, so the hairdressers tend to put me in like very extravagant, very cool, very forward-thinking fashion, and I always wanted to wear that, but was too embarrassed on the street. I thought I'd get picked on, whatever. And to be honest, when I started wearing that stuff, I got loads of grief. Everyone just thought I was mad, but now everyone's fucking wearing it. So it's like, you can't really win. Like now people are more accepting about some things. Not necessarily all of my fashion choices have been accepted by people, but you know, each to their own. I'm glad that things are changing, but it's taken ages to get that to that point. It takes a lot of balls and a lot of confidence. Until I started modeling and styling and working for brands that are a little bit more alternative, I wouldn't have dreamt to go out on the street in half the stuff that I used to. You know, like at the time, I just thought, I came to a city for university, and like was, you know, it's a multicultural city with this is Leeds, by the way, and where I studied, did fashion innovation, which being part of a massive art college as well, really helped, because everyone was really expressive with their clothing, with fashion, and with their style, you know, and with their identity as well. They were all very open. It's very accepting here. um, you know, it's not always that good for everybody else in different cities. There's a lot of prejudice around for you know, elsewhere that I've known of. So I don't know. It's good where I am now, and I haven't left for that reason.
Well,
It's
it's
been 12
lovely.
years now, and I'm not going to leave, I don't think.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, same coming to London. It's like, yep, I live here now. Yep.
that's it now, isn't it? Yeah, I can't remember where you were from originally.
I'm
You did
from
tell me. Oh,
Italy. Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I have a fair few
like
model friends that are
people
from Italy.
in northern Italy. So yeah, kind of similar.
Very, very, yes, and very like from my model friends that are from Italy, they do say that it's not as they love their fashion, but fashion is worn
Yeah,
a certain way. It comes with a certain class. It's a lot like Paris as well, though. I think they're
yeah,
the similar
it's
mindset, kind of
really
almost a stuck-up notion that you must be wearing, must be a certain body shape, or must be a certain type or a certain class to wear certain styles. And I feel like they're not as adventurous as we are in London, in up north in Leeds, Manchester. Yeah, we're kind of a bit more expressive.
lovely country. The people not so much,
Do you
but
think? Yeah, you're right. The people not so much. No, I like. Do you know what? I've been like all over the world and seen and talked to many people, many, and especially creatives in every country, and every creative is the same. You know, well, not the same,
yeah,
but they have a similar mindset. They're very free, very open, very accepting of all people, and very adventurous with styling and stuff. But yeah, I have to say that not all countries represent that immediately. You have to find the creative lot.
which I guess is good. Like you start hanging around with creative people, and then like everything is way better.
Yeah, you do, honestly. It's
Yeah.
so much better.
So third question is,
Yeah.
did you ever saw yourself reflected in the fashion industry? And if so, who and when was it? Like campaigns or model,
Yeah.
that kind
So
of thing.
for me, I mean, it's a hard one really, because obviously I model, so I see a lot of sort of alternative style now, but I didn't see stuff back in the day when, as I said, when I was a teenager and stuff, people used to pick on people with tattoos and call them, you know, like I don't know, just dirty, like they went to prison, like stuff like that. That's one side of it. You know, obviously I'm like 5'10" and a half. I'm or 5'11", like what I was. I think I've shrunk. I'm a tall girl. I never really felt like I was represented when I was growing up, because there wasn't as much diversity in tall clothing. There wasn't these ranges out that there is now. So I know that there's like overly focused on, you know, a lot of ecom brands especially have focused on small petite, like smaller ranges for petite people, tall ranges, maternity ranges, plus size ranges. But I feel like um, you know, it took until Rick Janis, the tattooed model called Zombie Boy, until that and him going into the Born This Way video with Gaga and being picked up by Thierry Mugler, like it took until then getting the tattooed side of it like mentioned. And even now, women tattooed in fashion is still a no-go.
Yeah,
Men, fine. For them to walk on the runway, absolutely fine. And the only time, obviously I'm a model internationally as well for hair, but hairdressers like tattooed, funky, quirky, very kind of like badass looking girls. They like putting their, you know, their hairdressing stuff to that, but fashion doesn't. You still won't get like a heavily tattooed lady on the runway, and that for me, I don't feel like I'm represented in that way. Tall people, yeah, obviously, because tall models around, but also I'm not the skinniest. So I've always worked with size 4, size 6, 8 maximum on the runway and stuff, and it's difficult for me sometimes. I get a real it took me a long time to get over the fact that I was always going to be a different shape to them. I'm bigger, I'm curvier, I'm a size 12, I always have been, I will always be if I don't get any fatter. But you know, and I'm a very curvy girl in certain places. So for that, it was like the double sort of whammy of you're being looked at because you're tattooed and because you're a curvy girl. You're not a stick thin person. And I got a lot of sort of like hate from certain people for doing that and getting to where I have. It's been a challenge, but it's been an exciting road as well. I've had so many opportunities thrown my way, but at the same time, yeah, I don't feel like I'm represented fully in the industry at all. I don't see any brands that are not classic alternative brands like heavy metal, tattooed biker chicks, that kind of thing. I see them kind of brands, the individual independent brands, but I don't see any high designers, or until Mugler did that one on that, and they're starting to bring in more tattooed men, but they definitely haven't represented for women. You see a couple on e-commerce sites, like girls with a couple of tattoos, that's it. They don't have fully tattooed. People still have this notion of, because they're highly tattooed, they've gone to prison, or they're all poker stick things that are done in the, like, I don't know, army, navy, whatever, is like a bit of a shit tattoo kind of vibe. I don't see
A lot
I
of
don't see any,
stereotypes.
it's just not seen like a lot, and we'll still sort of like, high designers have got this into a head that if it's not a blank canvas, if you're not like a Jane Doe with just gorgeous long blonde, tall and skinny, they still don't want to hang their clothes on you. They literally just see it as like it's just not their look. And I understand that the older generation have this mindset of tattoos must mean violence, but for me it's about expressing art and like chapters in my life. So I like to sort of like, when I'm doing photo shoots and stuff, I'm inclusive of everybody, from like plus to like disabled and tattooed, non-tattooed, loads of different things. I think that it's important to be inclusive, so there's that.
As you said, I was talking with one of the other interviewers the other day, and he said that one thing you notice that there's like representation is improving, but it's always like you represent one thing.
One.
Like you're either tall, you're either plus size, you're either. It's not like two things. It's not.
Yes.
Like, I mean,
yeah.
it's good, but it's not realistic, because like people are not only one specific thing.
100%. 100%. I was going to touch on that slightly, is that although I might be tall and I fit in the tall ranges for certain things, you look at Topshop, for example, and I'm not bad mouthing, but the Topshop tall range, for example, I could go and put a pair of their jeans on, right, which I'll just about long enough in the leg for me. I'm a 36-inch leg, so I know that that's quite hard to fulfill, and they probably do like a 35, 36-inch leg for the inside for tall people. But for some reason, they think that every tall person is stick thin, and that their ankle holes are this big. What person that's over 5'10.5" doesn't have size 7 at least feet? You're not going to get a size 3 foot that fits into that ankle hole with no stretch into them jeans. They don't cater for that, like tall and something or small and something. I find that the petite ranges as well, being an ex-stylist for Dorothy Perkins and Evans, I've worked with high street brands, I've worked with alternative brands, few and far between, but I do find like people are representing one thing, but you can get petite. Most of the time, people that were buying these brands were petite, but not just small frame. They were shorter, but they might be bigger. So there's no plus size, but petite. There is like one petite or there's plus size, and then there's that representation as well is completely skewed by when I was styling for Dorothy Perkins for a long time. You might want to buzz that word out, because I don't really want to be associated with saying this, but at the same time, I'm quite proud of myself for this one, is that I was styling for them, head stylist for them and Evans for a long time. Evans is a plus size brand, and I did the plus for Curve and the other ranges, but the Curve models they were using for ages at Dorothy Perkins and for Evans actually at first, until they both started listening to what I was saying, is that they were getting size 14 girls who are 5'11" in height, have skinny legs, and have slightly bigger boobs or bigger chest and maybe bigger hips. They weren't plus size in my eyes. They're Curve. They're not. They were tall and they were still pretty thin for what they should have been, and it just wasn't selling the clothes, especially with Dorothy Perkins' Curve range. And I was constantly saying to them, and I was in a battle for about 2 years over their models, saying, look, I've got lineups from agencies of girls that are actually good to represent your brand, and for that exact range that you need. So Curve, you want to be most of the people that are going to be buying that range are going to be shorter and also bigger than what you're selling. So it's, not what you're selling, but what you're selling with the photographs. So put somebody in that is more likely to, when customers are buying clothes, they're going to scroll through the site and go, that's me. they can see themselves in the clothing more if it's actually like good for it. So they went from using size 14s to, and then after my advice went to size 22, and we actually eventually got up to a 26 on Dorothy Perkins, which I think is phenomenal. And then their sales skyrocketed. So just goes to show, if you put the right person in representing that category of people that you want. I got a size 26, but also she was about 5'7", so quite a regular height. And I think that really aided their sales and really represented that you know, that section of their clothing really well. And I think that, yeah, without me pushing them for ages, I don't think they would have done that, which I'm happy about that. I'm proud that that came in and that they're continuing to use bigger models as well. But I do feel like they're not representing in other ways as well. When the petite models are in, they're 5'2" and they're or 5 foot to 5'2", but they're still stick thin and a very petite frame. They almost look like kids, you know, and you don't often find people that are buying, you know, maybe some of them are thin and small, but most are on the larger side and smaller. So you need that representation across the board and to fit perfectly for them. One that sorry to just go on about this point, but one that really irates me is like Pretty Little Thing and Boohoo. So they've got ranges that's called Curve, like Shape, which is basically a whole category that they've made up just for the Kim Kardashian fake implanted people of the world. Without me being harsh, that exact shape is not a body shape that is very likely among people. It is for American implanted people. It's people with ass jobs and boob jobs. They say it's like shape, but it's really just catered for, you know, overly aesthetically augmented people. It's not curve in the slightest. I know that they have a plus as well range, which is good, and they do use big represented models like bigger girls, but they don't have, I don't know why they have this category at all. It doesn't make any sense here in England, especially, you know, with the guys owning it. They've just taken over Arcadia as well, just taken off Dorothy Perkins. They've taken a couple of other brands. They're now all owned by the same two people, the two brothers that own Pretty Little Thing and Boohoo, I think. It's not helpful at all. I think that they're projecting an American image, which is not always ideal. And also not many people, they should focus on things that are needed and not making this category for people. Do you know?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've never seen that body shape in England. It's not something people aspire to be. Yeah.
It's not
in Italy either, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
It's an American thing, I think.
It's just not something that we have. Like, I just don't see any, I don't feel like everyone's being represented. I also don't think there's enough, you know, kind of gender fluid brands. I know that Zara's quite helpful. I mean, when it comes to sort of rocking things both on men and women, I've seen them do particular shoots for their e-commerce stuff, even because the style of shooting is something that we always aspired to. We looked at ASOS and we also looked at Zara, and we really liked, you know, their aesthetic, you know, shooting from really quirky angles, and both men and women in the same garments, in a dress or in, you know, whatever. And I think that's perfect. That's definitely a way to go. I think there's many people copying that now, which is nice, but it's at the same time you've really got to have the clothes that are actually, you know, suited for both mask and feminine people, and really represent that well, and follow it through with, because I did often find, looking at Zara, when they did do these alternative photo shoots where they had men and women, and they also had it even came down to race as well. They had diversity shots, so we had like something would be shot on a black girl, for example, and then I'd see it come up about 2 weeks later if it hadn't sold while they shot it on a white model. They shouldn't do that. They should stick to what they got on it in the first place. I get that some people are always going to be fucking racist, but I don't really believe in changing your shooting aesthetic to cater for them, to be fair.
Especially if it was like the other way around. If it was like maybe for POC people it would be a bit different, but like changing it to white people is a bit no ideal.
I don't like that at all. Not at all. Yeah, you're right. If it was the other way around and they wanted to be more inclusive and they were, you know, getting complaints because they hadn't got enough representation, then yes, reshoot. But not the other way around. Don't cater for white people. We get enough as we are. Like, you know, already privileged. We do not need to take it further than that.
But,
yeah.
So last question is, what
Yeah.
changes would you like to see regarding representation in the media in the future?
In the media could do a fucking lot, to be honest. I think that I think this is not going to be a surprise for you to hear me say that. You know, when it comes to fashion, it's always been controlled by the top dogs. You know, the high end designers and what they think is aesthetically pleasing to the eye. It knocks down to commercial brands, but it starts off there. High designers. I mean, for example, I mean, many people that are related with fashion stuff will know this, but there's actually like a board of people that decide what the color schemes are going to be for the next like 10 years, like 10 years previous to what, you know, 10 years back from what, you know, they all sat around a thing, going through color schemes, going through inspiration for things. It's controlled by the top dogs in the high fashion industry and knocks down to commercial. There are some trends that start from the bottom and work up, but most of the time it's a trickle down effect.
Yeah.
And with that becomes this notion that everything has to be shot, even, you know, celebrities fucking shooting, you know, getting papped, whatever. Every advertisement these days in magazines, in television commercials, whatever, it's always shot on perfectly beautiful models. You know, there's a couple of brands that will venture out and use alternative type of people, but generally it's always looking the same. It's always very white focused, it's always very skinny focused, it's always very whatever's in at the time. Or, you know, brands will try and catch on to trends that are going around on the bottom layers and trying to make them money, even more money, just by, you know, copying what they're doing. And I don't like that. I think that going forward, the media needs to, I mean, it's getting a little bit bad, but it needs to be up there further. People are constantly ripping each other down for weight, for class, for religion, for race, for gender, for everything. And although we're moving slightly forward, I feel like we're still not there. We're still not doing it fast enough. And there's still so much media that is covering the skinny, white, washed, you know, kind of, I don't know, society. And in a sense, it's just, it needs to be getting there faster. And it's not. I'd like to see more representation, obviously for my own benefit, you know, secretly say, you know, for non-binary, for, you know, a lot more brands that would come out for, you know, with loads of different diverse fashion influences. You know, I want to see tattoos on the runway more. I want to see you know, bigger people on the runway more. I want to see loads more different races. I want to see just everything that I can see, basically. I want multicultural, multi everything, like, going forward. But that's in an ideal world, and that probably won't happen anytime soon. But that's what I want.
Yeah. And if
Not
you
everybody wants that
have, if you have anything else to add, feel free to.
though. I might just quickly plug my brand.
I'll go for it.
Yeah, I will do. Is anyone going to see this, or is it just for your uni thing, Bobs?
I mostly do audio. I'll just need to put the videos in blogs and stuff like that, but I don't think other people will see it.
Yeah, maybe actually maybe you could cut this bit for me to selfishly put on my Instagram. Yeah, just like, I make costumes now. I'm no longer styling, but I make costumes and clothing for all types of people. They're non-gender specific. They fit both masc, femme, anything you want to be. Unicorns, fucking goths, like performers or non-performers, but they were I originally started it because I'm a fire performer and obviously modeling and all the rest of it, and I like to have quirky outfits constantly. But my brand is all inclusive, that it caters for plus size, it caters for every gender, non-gendered, any sexuality, no sexuality, and I like to think that it's really, really diverse. And although it does look very creatively clashy and rainbow, there are lots of like other styles that I do. Obviously, I do design completely in black as well, because like my soul. But yeah, I like, just a little cheeky plug on the brand, Firefox Fashion, if anyone's interested. And yeah, I create crazy stuff, and it can be used for lots of films and stuff as well, in case anyone's filming. But yeah, That's me, really. That's what I do. And thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for.
I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been this crazy amount that I could speak about when it comes